Morning everyone, welcome to our pre-match press conference to preview our game against Bournemouth. We'll start off with Alan at Sky.
Morning Frank.
Morning.
Just first of all, just touch back on midweek. Any regrets about Tuesday?
Well, we lost the game. In terms of the selection, no, because we have to use the squad. We haven't got probably at this point a squad to compete. I think we showed that through league, through cup, when you've got 3 games in a week, what the Carabao Cup would have meant to us. We wanted to win the game, and the onus was on the players who played to win the game, and it didn't happen. It's done now. We move on to tomorrow.
I know you say it's done. Just before we do move on, can you understand the fans' reaction? Because I mean, we come here all the time, and our managers say they want to do well in this competition. They want to win it, and then they don't play their perceived strongest team, and fans get irate.
Yeah, I would understand that. Every fan should have an opinion. It might be what Arsenal fans are saying, what Tottenham fans are saying, what West Ham fans are saying, what Liverpool fans nearly might have said. So this is the job that we do, and when you work with 20 so plus players that are playing for Everton, representing Everton, training every day, some training well, knocking on your door, and you know you might have to rely on them in the season, or they state a case to become a regular in the team, they have to have a moment to show that. And Wednesday was a moment to show that. Tuesday, sorry, and on the night, to be honest, not enough showed that, and that's just for me to take stock, and for those players to know that next time they get their opportunity, whenever that is, they better be of the level. So it was an exercise in that terms, and it's not. I didn't use it as an exercise. It's a game that we should go there and, in my opinion, get a result. And of course, we made mistakes. We had clear chances that we missed, and those things are always going to affect the game.
Has it put you in a more difficult position heading into the league game then at Bournemouth? A win down there on Tuesday gives real confidence and zip, I suppose.
Makes no difference. Makes no difference. No.
At all?
No. And it might give us more desire, determination. I don't know. It makes no difference to Bournemouth. Will make, I guess, a similar amount of changes again, back to what would perceive, you'd perceive as being their team that's been playing regularly in the league, pretty much. Of course, we'll make some changes, and it'll be a completely different game.
You don't see it as added pressure?
No, every game's pressure, and it's a different competition. Yeah. Do you see it as pressure?
Well, 3 Premier League points might be more important than Carabao Cup progress in the bigger scheme of things.
Yeah, I agree.
But, I'm answering the questions now, which I shouldn't be. But looking at the league table, there's only 6 points, Frank, that separate the bottom club from 11th place Brentford. But psychologically, what does a win do for you heading into a break of 6 weeks? Fans look at the league table and it just paints a brighter picture, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'd be really nice. It'd be really nice to go into a big break like that. We all look at the table, so there's no doubt it'd be nice.
Away form obviously is something that's been questionable over the course of the last few seasons with Everton. Is tomorrow a real sort of indicator of where you are away from home, taking on the likes of Bournemouth below?
No, I mean, when you say the likes of Bournemouth, it's a Bournemouth team that have beaten Leicester at home, nearly beat Tottenham at home. We've had a good home record this season, and we concede it. So we shouldn't disrespect them at all. It's a tough Premier League away game. They're all tough. And I think at times this season we've either gone away and got results that maybe we wouldn't have got previously, or last season. I'm talking about Leeds, I'm talking about Brentford, talking about going to Southampton and winning, going to Tottenham and competing and probably should be winning at half-time and we're not, and they're close games. That's certainly progress. Now, we want more, but it's unrealistic to say that we'll go from one place to the place we want to be in a short period of time. So we've certainly shown progress. I don't think we're looking at Bournemouth in isolation as a game that's going to be a gauge of where we're at. We want to go and win the game, that's clear.
Goals have been a bit of a problem this season, particularly of late. Losing Calvert-Lewin again was not good last week. How is he? Is he likely to be involved at all?
No, he won't be involved. No. Don't worry. He's got an injury, and he's had a few bangs, to be fair to Dominic, and he's been playing with some bits. So he'll be. We hope that the break comes at a good time for him, and we expect him back for Wolves on Boxing Day.
Is he disappointed to have missed out on the World Cup squad, or given the injury issues, was it almost expected?
No, I'm sure he'll be disappointed in terms of. He's a top player. He's had some injuries. He got fit, and obviously, particularly against Palace, where I think you saw him in towards prime condition. But he's had some knocks, as I say, and it's just a reality for him now. And a lot of players in their careers will go through those moments where you miss a major tournament. You look around the Premier League, you see players that are missing, not just English players that are missing this big tournament, it can happen to the best of players, and it's just sometimes time then to take stock, work on himself, because he's had those few issues. That's the silver lining, if you say, for him to be fit for us when we start again.
James Tarkowski also missed out on the World Cup squad, and given his form, is he disappointed? Have you?
I haven't spoken to Tarky. I missed him after training by the time the squad was announced yesterday.
Do you feel he deserved to be?
I thought he stated a great case in terms of his performance, but absolutely Gareth has to make the choice. He's got great choices to make from. I've got no problems with that. I just thought the real positive from our point is that Tarkowski's stated a great case in the way he's been playing. So I'm more concerned about what he does for Everton, what we do on Saturday, and a little bit of rest that he'll get now at certain times in the next 6 weeks.
You don't think he'll lead a lift ahead of tomorrow? He's not that type of guy.
Tarky's a big boy.
And Conor Cody has been in great form for you as well. He must be delighted to be heading off to the World Cup.
Yeah. I'm delighted for him.
Deserved.
Delighted for him, for Jordan. I know it's probably people expect Jordan. I also kind of expected Conor because of his form, because of how he is, and because I understand probably how Gareth and Steve would feel about him, the type of leader he is, the player he is in the tournament football. So I'm delighted for Conor, and I know how much it means to him and to Jordan to represent their country, and to Tarky. So I understand your question before about that the English boys are proud lads, and with those three in particular, they've played at such a level for me this season that I'm delighted with them. And then congratulations to Jordan and Conor, and obviously to Idrissa and Amadou also, who go with their countries.
How are they in terms of being fit for tomorrow?
Yeah, they're fit, they're trained. So we, as long as we don't have any issues in the next 24 hours in training today, then they'll be available.
It was good to see Yerry Mina back on Tuesday. Is he likely to be involved again in the squad?
Yeah, it's possible. I think he's been out for a while, so to play on Tuesday and get through the game like he did was a big plus for us. So we'll gauge that again today in terms of the squad tomorrow, but it was great to have him back.
And just finally from me, I know you're heading off to Australia. I'm sure you'll be taking in World Cup games here and there. Who do you think will win the World Cup? It's such a competitive competition. It's the pinnacle of players' careers. England have got a fantastic squad, but also others have. You look at the likes of Brazil and Argentina, incredible squads. We saw the Brazil squad come out the other day, and you go through the names. So I can't. It'll be who gets the best form and momentum in the tournament. Brazil.
Is that your opinion? Yeah.
Max Howell, Dr. Stewart, Premier League production.
Morning, Frank. Does midweek actually have any relevance for tomorrow, or is it just a blank sheet, a different team, obviously a different composition?
Well, I mean, I think it's a blank sheet because as I just said before, there'll be different teams for both of us in selection, and it's a different competition. I think it's. For me, it's nothing in terms of ourselves to the feeling of going back to a stadium where the players didn't perform well enough. We have to take that as a collective in a way and go and put it right.
And do you find it important for yourself and your coaching staff to get a response from the players, even though it's probably going to be different players? But do you still feel it's important?
In where we are in the Premier League, where we are as a squad, that's my job because it will happen a lot. In our position in the table. We could have a very seemingly successful season this year in the Premier League and lose 14 games, 12 games. I don't know if you go through the history of the Premier League, teams that finish in mid-table can lose a lot of games. It's a reality of the harshness of the Premier League. So it's very important to be resilient and constantly understanding the process where you want to get to. So as much as you get happy after a victory and everyone thinks, you'll just move on to the next one, you have to analyse where you could be better, where you could have done this. And it's the same with defeat. So it's important that we just do what we normally do, which is go again and approach the game in the right way and try and win it.
The World Cup break coming up is new to us all, obviously, but would it be a challenge to keep people fresh and motivated over the sort of 6 weeks before we return again at Christmas in the Premier League? I think
it's a different challenge, and just one you have to be prepared for. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing in a sense of the players that don't go, because it is an intense league, not just the games, the training, the preparation and those things. And we always talk in this league that the Premier League's the hardest and the longest, and you have to be durable, and by the end of it, everyone's tired and go, okay, well, here's a break. How can we utilise it? So it's we go to Australia, players will have some rest. We'll prepare, we'll arrange games, my gut feeling is that the players that don't go should be fresh and really ready for the second half of the season.
Thanks, Stuart. We'll go to Alistair McGowan at the BBC.
Thanks. Hi, Frank. Can you just clear up Dominic's injury? Because obviously it was hamstring, but there's a couple of reports about maybe he's had a problem with his shoulder as well.
Yeah, the hamstring's a small injury. It's probably a 10-day injury as such, which is slightly irrelevant now. The shoulder was a whack he took against Newcastle, and he then had a bit of a recurrence against Fulham. He's been strapped up a lot, so that's something that's been looked at by a specialist yesterday and doesn't need any surgery or anything like that, so that's there. And he has still the knee, so he's been getting through with some issues. So the knee is probably the most prominent injury that we want to get right, which is a similar injury to what he had before. It's been aggravated, so this period gives us time to get it back right.
So has he dislocated his shoulder then?
He dislocated and it went back in. That's the simple terms that I know.
Against Newcastle?
Yeah.
Okay. So he played on during that game?
So yeah, so let's give him some credit. I think a lot of people take a view on players that get injuries and say, and speculate behind the scenes, or how many times are they out there and this and that, and then there's a lad that dislocated and went back in. And I know there's a lot of people outside football that do a lot braver things than what we do, but it's a lad that's dedicated to try and get on the pitch for his club and possibly his country. And unfortunately for Dom, obviously it hasn't worked this time.
So he doesn't need any sort of further surgery or anything like that? Okay, fine. I just wondered, obviously goals have been a bit harder to come by. I think it's probably fair to say that your defence has improved, but maybe the attack has gone backwards a little bit. Is it something that you're considering for January? Is that where you need to make improvements in terms of signings for the transfer window? Yeah,
we're certainly considering it in the squad. I mean, I think a reality is we lost Richarlison, who was a big source of goals. We haven't really had Dominic, who's a big source of goals. So I think there's some of it is par for the course a little bit in terms of their production for us. It isn't there now. But when we looked at the window in the summer, I knew we had to strengthen throughout the squad in different areas, and the priority was certainly to stop conceding and be more solid and work through midfield. And what does that look like? And so it may be the next step, considering now we haven't had Dominic as well for a big portion of this so far this season, is to give ourselves more options in an attacking sense to help the squad, because Leicester's a prime example of a game that was a tightly contested 50-50 possession. They've got some really good players and a threat. We missed two really big chances in the game, and they scored two amazing goals. One particularly amazing, and the other one was a superb individual moment. So those things sometimes in both boxes can be real critical. You know, the fallout, the talk, how you prepare for the next game, the kind of questions I get even today. You know, all those things and confidence in the group can change off those things. So more options for us can be a good thing, because over the course of the season, of course, sometimes you want to change things up and you want to have people to call on that you feel that can give you something different in an attacking area. We're well aware of that.
You sort of referred there to maybe an evolution of the team in some regards. Have you become frustrated at all in terms of the progress of that evolution? Do you think that maybe in terms of attacking or whatever, you would like to be further along than you are?
Yeah, I think you always want to be. I'm not frustrated with it. I think you always want to be, and to try and push wingers, for instance, to score more goals, to get in those areas. It's sometimes a process. It's not, you know, you look at the best in the league and their journeys, and it's not like they're always scoring 25 goals a season at 21 years of age or whatever. Sometimes it takes time to work on themselves, self-development, coaching, and those things come together. So I don't think it's something that we should, you know, I mean, at the minute I think Damari's output and Anthony's output and Dwight's output is pretty much where they sort of normally are, in fact, at the good end of it for this part of the season, and 3 goals, 2 goals. But we want more, and we work towards that, and we hope to see that more as we go along. But it's also not a situation to isolate the front part of the team. We have to look at how much we're there, how many times we're in the opposition. We look at those stats a lot. How many crosses are we making? How many shots are we making? And in some games you go, yeah, Leicester were very much so. We did enough in an attacking sense to score more goals away from home, not so much in certain games. And then it becomes a team structure thing. So I think there's a lot of things we have to look at in that sense.
And just finally, there is a scenario whereby Everton could be in the bottom 3 going into this break. I just wondered if you were sort of worried that you could maybe in the second half season, starting in the bottom three, maybe get drawn into a scrap like last season as well?
I'm not worried about it off the sense of what happens tomorrow, to be honest. I mean, it's been a season where you can get 3 points and you're a point or a goal difference away from the top half of the table. You can lose one game and you're back down there. It's tight as it is. I think there's a long, long way to go for us to be overly concerned about that. Of course, we don't want to be anywhere near that, but the reality is we are, and so are all the teams around us. So I'm not overly concerned. Listen, we spent at one point last year, we were 5 points in the bottom three with a couple of games in hand, but towards the end of the season. So where we are now is hopefully we push, we try and get a result at the weekend. Everyone goes home with that positivity of looking at a table that will probably look quite nice with what the other fixtures might say at the weekend. And even if we don't, we have to go away and go, how can we get better and make sure that the second half of the season, or more than the second half of the season, we continue the process. Because my feeling was this season that we were always going to have this process. It wasn't going to be, okay, we go from where we were last year, the window and what we had to do, and go, now here we are, we're a really comfortable Premier League team fighting for Europe. It doesn't work that way. So we understand the process, we have to keep working towards it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alistair. We'll go to James Mountford at Radio Merseyside.
Hi, Frank.
Hi.
Apologies to dwell on Tuesday, but is your challenge now to unify this squad so it doesn't become almost a best 11 and a reserve 11? Because presumably you're going to have to call on some of those players that played on Tuesday in the remainder of the season.
Yeah, it's not about unifying at all. It's just, we lost a game. I don't understand the question to that point. It's not about unifying. It's that everyone together, the same players that didn't travel on Tuesday have to go and get a result tomorrow, and the ones that played will be involved again or come off the bench and help the team. It's normal.
And just on the youngsters that came on, Tom Cannon, he's had quite a week, hasn't he, after
Yeah.
getting the goals in the Premier League International Cup. I understand it may not be the time to be throwing youngsters into Premier League games week in, week out. What sort of a role can they expect to play for the rest of the season in terms of the first team?
Yeah, it's there for them in terms of coming in to contribute. We're delighted to get him on the pitch. They deserve it. If they deserve it for how they're playing, the 21s, him and various others, then it's great to have them on the bench, coming on and getting that first taster. So I think you're right. It's not easy to integrate and expect everything in one go, but at the same time to get those little bits of experience and to get that youthful feeling in the group of players delighted to be involved, wanting to come in and show that they've got potential to play for this club is a nice feeling. So it's good position for them, and the young boys deserve it.
Thanks, James. Carl, Markham at the Press Association.
Hi, Frank. Just wondered, does Tuesday's performance make things more difficult for you selection-wise? Because everyone wants good competition within the squad, and the performance in midweek would suggest that there's a disparity between what considered your first choice 11 and the rest of the squad.
I don't think we should make an absolute declaration on individuals off the back of one game. That sounds like you're saying one performance means this. It doesn't mean that. And when you change the team and change players, there's always a small area where a player can say, well, I haven't played for this amount of time, or there were a lot of changes in the team. and I get that a little bit, and that's the path of the course in fighting in different competitions and using the squad. That's the way it is. But those players are still our players. And maybe as much as it gives anyone a wake-up call, generally it's the individual themselves to say, okay, no, when I come back in next time I want to help the squad. So it's one game. It's one game, and we go back to fighting in the league, and that's it.
Thanks very much. Any further questions in the open section before we move on?